What's going on? You're in the Beat Sessions, your place for all things music. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's lead things off for the week of October 18th with this new record from Jerry Cantrell entitled I Want Blood. This is the fourth solo outing for the Alice in Chains frontman and his follow-up to 2021's Brighton. Before we get into it, I love that album cover. That image is so sick. And it's also a pretty clear indication of what you're about to get when you drop the needle on this record. Prior to releasing Brighton back in 2021, though, it had been almost 2 decades since Jerry had put out a solo record. And it makes sense. He talks about how if Alice in Chains is in a good spot, if they're doing well creatively, that project is always going to be his top priority. I will say, though, that after all of these decades, earning the title of Riff Lord and just seeing the long list of collaborators, whether on stage or in studio, it's great to see him team up with other musicians and to work on these songs that sound quintessentially Jerry, but they don't quite fit into the Alice in Chains catalog, I'd argue. Brighton and I Want Blood, 2 different records. Brighton, he talks about how it's like moving out of the darkness into the light. I'd argue that album does start off pretty heavy, but once you get into the meat of it, you get a lot of lighter compositions, a lot of acoustic arrangements that remind me a lot of the brilliance of the Unplugged record that Alice in Chains put out back in the 90s. But it is overall a very different record, which is fun to talk about because it features a lot of the same players as I Want Blood. You got Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses on bass. You got Gil Sharon working on the drums again. We all know the dual vocal element is something that is very important to Jerry in his music, in his art. And so working with Greg Puciato, formerly of Dillinger Escape Plan, is really cool on both of these records. This new record, I Want Blood, though, it also features Robert Trujillo on bass from Metallica. I love his presence there. Mike Borden from Faith No More is working on the skins on a few of these tracks. And then you get Lola Collette working with those vocal collaborations as well. So, I mean, just a wonderful group of musicians helping Jerry make what is arguably one of the best records maybe that he's worked on in the last 20 years. This album really is stellar. And I think what makes it so phenomenal are the 2 main features that have made him not just one of the best guitar players in grunge and metal, but just one of the best guitar players in rock and roll ever. He's fantastic. He's always going to keep you on your toes with those riff structures. I mean, when it comes to the technical stuff, I don't have that much insight, but I know that I'm hearing timing in 5/4. I'm hearing it in 7/4. I feel like I heard stuff in 9/8. 11/4. If you guys have more insight and more knowledge with all that stuff, please throw down in the comments section. I would love to talk about that element because it's something that I'm not personally that well versed in, but I know that all of these tracks just feature that signature riff play that he is so well known for, whether it's, urgent, in your face, or whether he wants to go with something a little more sludgy and grungy. There's just a fun range of music, melodies, and riffs on this album that will keep you so engaged for a very long time to come. It's the tone of his guitar too, and I love that about the guy. So many different songs over the years, but again, I feel like no matter what tone, no matter what type of pedal scheme he's playing with, or just a combination of all that stuff, it still sounds like Jerry. And it's what I love about this record. You throw it on and all that guitar play, you know immediately what you're getting into, who you're listening to, while, getting some stuff that's adventurous and fun, new and contemporary. It's really just a great blending of the old school and the new school. And I cannot emphasize my love for all the players on this record and what they're bringing to the table as far as collaborators. Getting into the track list on this thing, though, Vilified is going to be your opening track. Drums to introduce. You got this heavy mid-tempo guitar that works in with really cool timing. Just right out the gate, you're getting this unique time signature that is super fun. Production is excellent on the track. I love the big vocal on the hook. There's a breakdown in this song that gets nice and sludgy, so good contrast in there between the elements, but just a great album opener. I love the energy coming right out the gate. Off the Rails is your second track. Love the tone on that opening riff. The rhythm builds in slowly to progress. I love the intermittent drums that work in until about 1:20 in the song. And then the rhythm just finds a really nice groove, the drum and the bass on this thing. And I like the way that it works between those different elements. You get the different timing signatures that it works around. And probably the coolest riff maybe on this record. I love the riff that is featured on this track and the way the instrumentation is working around it. Afterglow is your third song, mid-tempo guitar and synth textures. The synths drop to highlight the guitar and vocal element. It's going to keep a mellow, moody feel. It's kind of a nice change of pace, but just a solid, great precision, solid guitar solo, excuse me, on this particular song. And it's the precision and the space that he's working with in this particular guitar solo, and just the riff work that really caught my attention on this track. I Want Blood, your title track, is your fourth song. Feedback opens to driving bass. You get a drum that just builds on the snare. Nice 4/4 groove with a lot of solo work. Lots of focus on the solo work in this track. It's one of my favorite things about it. I feel like, versus driving riffs and a lot of that other unique guitar play, you're really just feeling the solo element be the highlight of this song. And I think it's cool for that reason. Echoes of Laughter is your fifth track, signature acoustic driven metal balladry. This is kind of a slow burner, and I like the back off on the tempo here. Mid tempo, get this veritable guitar play that's working around. The drums build into this excellent solo that's featured on this track. I really liked that element of it. It's going to lead into your sixth song, Throw Me a Line. Excellent rhythm riff to open, ushers in more rhythm work, more solo work. I really like the guitar play on this track. This song also just finds an excellent groove with another unique timing signature. The verse is going to have a different sequence, and I love the way that the two come together. It's what he's so good at, so well known for, and another track that just really highlights that brilliance for me. Let It Lie is your seventh track, excuse me. Sparse, heavy riff to open on this thing. Got a drum fill that's going to usher in this sludgy mid-tempo groove. Guitars take hold for the middle of the song, and then I really like the breakdown, the way that everything kind of falls out, and the guitars are the focal point there. Percussion is going to build back in. It's going to usher in a solo, and it's going to lead into your penultimate track, Hold Your Tongue. This song is probably my favorite. Definitely a big highlight for me. Your vocal intro ushers in this hard-hitting track with lots of different guitar textures. The verse witnesses them subside. The focus is on the bass and these guitars that swirl around it. I really like that element. They're going to move in and out. It takes a lighter melodic turn around 2 minutes into it, and for about 30 seconds, that lighter melodic feel is going to take hold, and then it moves back to that heavy progression, and back to the lighter feel. I like the back and forth on this song. And then finally, the coda, it's going to take on a heavy feel. Nice solo to end this track. And then your ninth song and your final track, It Comes. Got this spooky, psychedelic, arpeggiated riff with the slow drum build with the vocal, cool bass riff that backs all of that. Bit of minimalism that's at play here. It's something that it comes at a nice point, I think. Final track of the record, something that plays with space a little more than some of these other songs. I really like the way that this track hits a different tempo at about 3.5 minutes. It's led by a solo and then backs off. And I love the way that it finds just a dope groove to finish. You guys know me as far as the album purism. There's 9 tracks, 46 minutes. For all that we talked about, guitar artists and, bands from the 90s and so on, there's almost like this awareness, this consciousness of, making a solid classic rock record. There's so many albums from so many artists. You get 8, 9, maybe 10 songs from time to time with that runtime. But it really feels like there's so much thought being put into this record, whether it is, paying homage to all those influences in the past, because he talks about that. He talks about just classic rock and roll, country, inspiring him over the years, his artistry, and then just that signature riff play. Once again, the timing signatures, their unique nature, the way that he's able to work back and forth between them, and just the solid tone that always is present with his guitar. This album's got it all. It is a fantastic effort. I'm going to give it a 7.7 out of 10, and would really, encourage all of you to check this out over the weekend if you haven't already. Hope you enjoyed this record, and I hope you find this review helpful. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, do all the things to help me blow this project up in 2024, and tune in to the live show, Classic Wax, on Tuesday nights. That's at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will see you next time on the Beat Sessions.